These guys all have potential to play significant roles this season. That's right. Go back to last year. Who were the top wide receivers that at least myself and probably many of you were projecting for Syracuse? Justus Ross-Simmons, Zeed Haynes. What did it turn out to be? Jackson Meeks and Trevor Pena. In fact, Jackson Meeks was not even a starter to begin last season, and he ended up being one of the top receivers in the ACC. In fact, I believe he finished with the second most receiving yards in the conference last season. So make no mistake, just because we didn't talk about these players that we're about to mention in the last segment doesn't mean that these guys can't be big contributors for Syracuse in 2025. After all, Fran Brown has always shown since he has arrived on campus, he's going to play the players that gives his team the best chance to win. It's as simple as that. So, with that being said, who is competing for more playing time? Who are the depth receivers that could potentially emerge for Syracuse next season? Or I guess this season coming up. You got Tyshawn Russell, a South Carolina transfer. He is a redshirt sophomore. Emmanuel Ross, a redshirt freshman, a 2024 four-star recruit. And you got Jalen Hornsby, a redshirt freshman, 2024 three-star recruit. I think those three guys top at least my list on the depth chart as far as who are some depth players that could play big roles for the Orange in 2025. And all three of them have varying degrees of potential, but the one common theme between those three guys is they have very little experience. Very little. It's not just the amount of time that they've been in college, it's the fact that these guys really haven't gotten on the field a whole lot to showcase their wide receiver talents. They've gotten on the field for special teams, but not as a wide receiver really much on offense. Tyshawn Russell from South Carolina has gotten great reviews from Fran Brown. He's spoken very highly of him. I think he is a sneaky player for Syracuse this upcoming season. And I do think at minimum, he can contribute on special teams. Then you got Emmanuel Ross and Jalen Hornsby. Both are 2024 recruits. Both saw limited playing time last season. Now, Ross was listed ahead of Hornsby for spring, and he was ahead of Hornsby last season. So my guess is that he is probably still ahead of him on the depth chart. But overall, between those three guys, it would not surprise me if any of them end up breaking out and having a big year for Syracuse football, because it goes back to what Fran Brown has always shown. He's going to play the best. He's going to play the players that gives his team the best chance to win. That's the bottom line. Who do you think is going to break out of those three guys that I just mentioned? Tyshawn Russell, Emmanuel Ross, Jalen Hornsby. Comment in the comment section below. Maybe there's a receiver that I'm forgetting to mention. Comment in the comment section below. Let's get into the running back position. Again, we talked about this a little bit with Daryl Gill, but we're going to have a podcast talking about the quote-unquote safe positions. The top two running backs, I think, are pretty clear. Yassine Willis, a true sophomore, and Will Nixon, a redshirt senior. It's going to probably be a committee-type approach at running back for Syracuse this upcoming season. But who's going to be the running back three? Running back three is important. Running back three is going to see the field. Injuries happen, unfortunately. Rotation during games, special teams, all that play a factor. Running back three is important for any team. You don't want to run either of your top two running backs into the ground. Someone's got to touch the ball. Running back three is an important position. For now, it looks like it's going to be Jaden Hart, who is a true sophomore running back, but I don't necessarily think he's guaranteed to have that position. Another guy I'd like to mention is Malachi James, a sophomore running back as well, arguably the fastest player on Syracuse football, legitimate track speed. In fact, I would love if Malachi James and Johntay Cook just had a race. They each just go side by side, 40-yard dash. Let's see who runs it faster. Because I think those are the two fastest guys for Syracuse on the team. I do think a guy like Malachi James, like Tyshawn Russell, will play on special teams for Syracuse this upcoming season. And special teams for any player is a great way to earn playing time, not just in the fact that you're playing on special teams, but also to earn playing time on offense and on defense. The most famous example of this, you got to go back to the mid-90s with Terrell Davis and the Denver Broncos. He's a low-round draft pick, not guaranteed to make it, plays on special teams, impresses tremendously, becomes the starting running back for the Denver Broncos, and the rest is history. He ends up having one of the great short period stretches in NFL history. He's a 3-time All-Pro, MVP, 2,000-yard rusher, 2-time Super Bowl champion. There's a reason why Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame despite a very short spurt. Fortunately, injuries kind of ruined his career, but that's the most famous example of someone who was just on special teams, but impressed on special teams, and the coaching staff says, hey, let's give this guy some work on offense or defense and see what happens. The guy ends up going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and wins 2 Super Bowls. Am I saying that that's what's going to happen to Malachi James or any player for Syracuse that's going to play on special teams? No. In fact, I don't think that Malachi James is going to end up becoming the next version of Terrell Davis. The point being, though, is that if you're on special teams and you're playing a lot, if you impress on special teams, you got a shot to carve out more of a role on offense or defense. And I think that Jaden Hart will also get reps on special teams as well. There's also Malachi Coleman, a true freshman running back, ESPN top 50 running back in the nation. And we have seen Syracuse have a couple of true freshmen emerge pretty quickly in the recent past, at running back specifically. Sean Tucker, he was pretty much the lone bright spot of that 2020 season, which we don't really like to talk about on this show. Fun fact about the 2020 season, that was when I was a freshman over at Syracuse University. So I got to Syracuse, and my goodness, that was a rude awakening to the football team. Ugh, that was bad. That was a bad year. COVID was going on. Sean Tucker was the only real bright spot, and he was a true freshman that season. And then LaQuinn Allen. LaQuinn Allen is a true freshman. I believe it was in 2022. My math is correct. Yeah, it was 2022. He was behind Sean Tucker on the depth chart, but he had a big carry against Wagner in a blowout. I get it's Wagner, but he ran for about a 90-yard touchdown in that game, so he flashed a little. And then he was amazing in the bowl game against Minnesota. And he was a true freshman. And we knew by 2023, LaQuinn Allen was ready to be the starting running back. What's that to say about Malachi Coleman? Again, he's a true freshman. I'm not going to count him out just because he's a true freshman running back. We have seen true freshman running back for Syracuse in the recent past impress right away for Syracuse. And to a lesser extent, Yassine Willis as well last year. He played pretty well. I do think he has potential. There's some stuff he needs to work on, of course. Didn't necessarily have the highest yards per carry, but he got on the field as a true freshman. So I'm not going to count out a guy like Malachi Coleman either.